My parents are physicians, so I grew up under the identity that we should always give back and create equity for those in need. And I carried that identity with me throughout middle school and high school, learning the virtues of service and how we can impact our community. And that really inspired the Green Guru Project.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Rooted and Muted. Today we are here with Shaan Guru, who is the founder of the Green Guru Project, a youth-led nonprofit focused on sustainability, food insecurity, climate action, and economic empowerment. What started with noticing food waste at a local Panera Bread in Orlando has since grown into an international initiative spanning food rescue programs, financial literacy workshops for migrant communities, sustainability partnerships, and youth-led service projects across multiple countries. As an Indian American student interested in economics, sustainability, and policy, Sean represents a growing generation of young South Asians using leadership not just for achievement, but for impact. Thank you, Sean, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be featured and rooted.
Yeah, thank you so much. We're first going to get started with the rapid fire questions. Sean, what is one word that describes Green Guru Project?
I think that a word to describe the Green Guru Project could be innovation because we're currently building and finding new ways to create sustainable solutions globally.
Nice. A value that your parents taught you that still guides you today.
Always give full effort until the end because you never want to leave something without effort.
Yes, that's so true. What is one issue that you think that young people are not talking about enough?
The Sustainable Development Goals set by the UN, which are the goals that the UN wants to meet by 2030 to reach peace and harmony with a long-lasting world, which influences our generation, Gen Z, and I think it should be talked about more.
Very interesting. What is a city that inspires you?
Singapore and the city-state of Singapore, as they're innovative and they are one of the most green cities in the world with lots of solar energy. And the way that Singapore was built from a small marshland into one of the greatest financial hubs in the world is very inspirational.
Wow, I didn't know that actually. What is one habit that keeps you grounded?
One habit that keeps me grounded is to always give full effort and make sure to have a big work-life balance where we work hard and we play hard.
Yeah. What is harder, leadership or consistency?
I think that consistency is actually harder than leadership because in order to be a good leader, you have to be consistently showing up every
Yes.
day, even when it's rough.
Yeah, I agree. What is one word to describe this season in your life?
This season of my life, I would say one word to describe it is resiliency. There's been a lot of ups and downs, a lot of tough times, especially as a junior in high school, lots of
Mm.
academic pressure.
I absolutely agree. Junior year was definitely very difficult. So first of all, Sean, take us back to the moment that sparked the Green Guru Project. What was going through your mind when you first noticed how much food was being wasted while people in the same community were struggling to access like these basic necessities?
Yeah, so essentially, I was sitting outside of Panera Bread one day and I noticed several goods, baked goods, being discarded. And that made me question, is there a way we can actually get this bread redistributed? And I started contacting local food banks and food pantries and community fridges in downtown. And I ended up connecting with the neighborhood fridge. And that led to a great program because Panera allows, if you're a 501(c)(3) organization, you can sign a legal contract that says you will redistribute the food. So that's what we enacted with the Panera Bread near my house. And we started creating weekly drop-offs. And additionally, my friend and I, we are building an app now called Green Stream App, which will allow for more volunteers to partake in this process.
That's absolutely amazing. I think that's so cool how like a little experiences like that can start something so big. So something that a big part of Green grew is growing up as a South Asian American. Were the values from your family or culture that shape the way that you think about service and responsibility and community impact?
My parents are physicians, so I grew up under the identity that we should always give back and create equity for those in need. And I carried that identity with me throughout middle school and high school, learning the virtues of service and how we can impact our community. And that really inspired the Green Guru Project as I wanted to help the people and lessen the global suffering of people.
Yeah, I agree. I think South Asians is something I noticed is like even my parents, and aunties and uncles around, everyone is so hospitable and you're always welcome at, you know, someone's house and they always like make chai and food for you. And I
Right.
think that those values really like translate into a lot of work that we just love to, that we do give back. So a lot of your work focuses on both sustainability and economic opportunity. What made you realize that those two things are very deeply like connected?
I actually had this realization in my first ever economics class. It was a summer program, and the first slide it says the nine key concepts rooted in economics, the first one being sustainability, and this means creating an equitable and long-lasting GDP. And that set with me for a while, and it honestly became the identity of the Green Guru Project because it's sustainability. A lot of people think it's just something planting a tree, but it's really within economics and the key concepts of the ideologies of how we can build on econ.
That's so interesting. I think when you think of science and you think of economics, it doesn't always like cross over, but I think economics is a really big part of science and sustainability, and it's really important to think about that.
Right. I agree.
So, what started as a local food rescue efforts has now grown into such an international nonprofit with projects connected to climate action, education, and economic development. When did you realize that Green Guru was becoming something bigger than just like the small student initiative?
Yeah, so initially we started as a small 501(c)(3 that was just doing the Panera pickup, but then more opportunities expanded. I have some friends that live in Brazil and reside in Arizona, and they wanted to get involved, and they had projects of their own, and we began leveraging the 501(c)(3 legal binding ability to sign off volunteers, and we just kept expanding and expanding, and more projects toppled on top of each other, and it's been amazing to see how everything's so interlinked and keeps building.
That's so cool. I'm from Arizona, so that's very cool that that stuff is being brought over here. It's like we also have issues in Arizona, like it's very hot and lots of like there's lots of pollution in the air. So it's really cool that you're bringing that here as well. So one thing that stands about your work is that it focuses on the practical impact instead of just awareness. Why is it important to you that Green Guru is action oriented all the way from the beginning of when you started it?
I think a big part is that actions speak louder than words, especially in today's generation where you have so many people that are performative or just doing things to say they did them, whereas you want to have people who are actually trying to solve these UN sustainable goals, trying to make an effort to make an impact. And that's a key pillar of the Green Guru Project, solving the sustainable development goals, creating measurable actions. And our motto of Green Guru Project is actually invest in real impact, which
That's
reflects this.
very Yeah. What you're talking about these like the UN pillars. What like led you to discover those and why are those your pillars of for the Green Group project?
It was actually my Spanish class because my school, Windermere Prep, has a big identity regarding the UN Sustainable Goals, and they want people to try and our students to work and make an impact within them. So, at first, I learned about the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and then I flourished and tried to make my service-oriented work connect to it. And this really ties into the broader theme because then I got selected to represent my school at the NAE Global Summit, which is a meeting of other students such as myself, and we're going to be working on resolutions regarding the Sustainable Development Goals and networking to gather ideas that we can bring back to Windermere for the UN Sustainable Development Goals to try and help these inequalities, try and make the world better.
That's so cool. So you have also another thing I loved about Green Group Project is that you're working with migrant communities in Orlando through financial literacy workshops in Spanish and Portuguese. What did those experiences teach you?
Yeah, so first I'm going to touch about the little origins about this. So one thing I've noticed ever since I've grown up is Orlando is very multicultural. We have lots of people who move from South America and Brazil, and I have a lot of Brazilian friends and colleagues. And when I talk to them, I get very immersed in the culture. I want to learn Portuguese. I want to learn Spanish, and it really immersed me to create this project where we are helping those as a lot of people move, especially the older people, they're unaware of how to thrive in the United States, such as taxing and budgeting. And I realized this is something we can help these people with. And it's been really beautiful because how it works is they're essentially coming and bringing their culture, which is amazing. And we, in exchange, we're trying to help them adjust. So it's very beautiful to see that in action.
That's so such a beautiful thing that you guys are doing. I think it's so nice that we have, it's almost like as people of color, we're helping other people of color be able to um and like engage in the culture that we have right now and to immerse themselves and be comfortable. I think that's such a cool thing that we can all apply to our lives.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how multicultural and uh, togetherness we have, especially at my school, whereas there's lots of diversity. We have a annual culture festival, for example, or a
And
potluck
we
where
did too,
everybody
yeah.
can share cultures, and it's been really cool.
That's really cool. We have that too. I was saying that. We have that too. And I think that's like one of the best, like the highlights of our year. And that's always been so much fun to do. So, your interests span economics, sustainability, public policy, and research. How do you personally define success when you're working across like so many different fields that are kind of different?
I think ultimately this ties into one bigger goal, which is creating a more equitable GDP through environmental and social policy. Because when you look at GDP, it doesn't account for inequalities, it doesn't account for poverty or environmental issues. So we have to look at other measures such as the Human Developmental Index or green GDP. And essentially that involves policymakers and becoming a more equitable GDP. So they're all really interlinked because policymaking and sustainability are key pillars of economics. And economics is a game of choices that's all over our lives. And it's been really cool to see the interdisciplinary elements of economics.
That's so cool. Yeah. A lot of people think that sustainability is only about the environment, but then your work also talks about like dignity and access, as you were saying, and like regulating the GDP and like economic systems. But so, what do you think that people like most misunderstand about sustainability?
I think a large misconception about sustainability is that it's not just preserving today, but creating a lasting future. And this ties into everything as a whole with equitable policy, the sustainable development goals, because essentially, in order to create a lasting tomorrow, it needs immediate action, which really is the root of sustainability and the definition, which is creating a long-lasting tomorrow for communities to thrive.
Yeah, I think that I agree with that. You have to, I think the action that we put in now, the little things that we do even now, I feel like a lot of people when they like want to do something, they want to start big, but it's just the little actions that create a better tomorrow, as you were saying. Yeah. So you have already done research, nonprofit work, and then all these like this policy oriented project at this young age. Do you ever feel like that pressure to have it figured out already, or are you still discovering like what type of impact you want to make?
To be honest, my dream is to become a policymaker where I'm creating policies that allow for more equitable solutions and sustainable communities. However, ultimately, we just have to take things one day at a time. How can I make an impact today? Wake up the next day, how can I make an impact tomorrow? But definitely, I would say the long-term goal is to get involved in Capitol Hill with policymaking to create more equitable GDP.
That's really cool. I think that's really cool how you're taking like just tiny steps of what you can do, and then eventually it marks like your whole entire goal for your future. And I think it's so important to do things that like benefit your future and can benefit the world as well. Okay, so we're gonna talk about a little bit more about the rooted themes and aspects of it. So many South Asian students grow up feeling pressure to have a pursue achievements in a very traditional way. Did you ever feel this tension between choosing like a conventional path and some building something that's very unconventional, like Green Guru?
I think ultimately, no matter the community or background, the correct path is the existentialist path, and it's what fulfills ourselves. One definition of success might be more conventional than the other in terms of success for someone, but we have to look at our existentialist purpose and what gets us out of bed every day. For example, I'm excited to know that I need to get up, I need to go do this Panera program because it could go make an impact in someone and create a more circular economy. And that's my why, even if it's more unconventional or not looked upon as a more prestigious. But ultimately, for me, it's about making an impact over prestige.
I agree. I love that so much. It's, for the viewers, what is your why? Think about what is your why? What gets you out of bed every day? What makes you excited? What can you use that your gift and your passions to benefit the world? And it doesn't really matter whether like what's conventional and what's not. It's what fulfills you. And I think that's so amazing. So your work about it, and then this also goes back to like our South Asian communities being very much community centered. Um, and that also reflects in your work. How do you stay grounded while balancing these leadership and ambition and also like, junior year academics and also just expectations?
I think ultimately we can't be looking too forward, otherwise that can create a lot of stress. We have to we have to stay rooted to our culture, all the glory to God, but ultimately what we do is day by day, one thing at a time, we must stay organized. You know, academics come first, and then we finish our schoolwork, and then we keep building and we keep finding a way to pull it off.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's so important to take it one day at a time. That's something my dad always says. Like, um, he always like looks to God for like one day after the other, just little things, and just going like that. And then not looking too much into the future. And I think that really keeps you grounded. So, to finish it off, what is one last thing that you would say to young South Asians who want to make a difference, but they feel like they're too young or not experienced enough to start?
I don't think you should ever let your age or structural barriers define what you do. It sounds cliche, but you can do anything you put your mind to because ultimately, what you decide, what route you decide to take, it should be something that brings you purpose and happiness.
I agree. I think our lives are really just about meeting a specific purpose that we're put on this earth to. And I think that really reflects in your work, and that's so cool.
Thank you. It's been an honor to be on Rooted today. Thank you to all the viewers.
Yeah. So what makes Shaan Guru's work stand out is not just the scale of what he's built, but the mindset behind it. Through the Green Guru project, he's approached sustainability not as just an abstract concept, but also as something that's deeply connected to people, dignity, and everyday life. His story reflects a growing generation of South Asians, the youth redefining leadership through action, community, and creating a long-term impact. And for young people trying to figure out how to turn their ideas into something meaningful, Sean's journey is such a beautiful reminder that real change often starts with just simply noticing a little pattern and a problem and deciding not to ignore it. Thank you so much, Sean, for joining us. And I've had an amazing time getting to talk to you, and I've been so inspired. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you to all the viewers as well.
And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.